Hey everybody, it's your girl Barbie J here with the recap and review of Tyler Perry's comedy drama Sisters, Season 6, Episode 22, Beautiful Lies. Beautiful, beautiful lies. Anyway, this was the season finale, I believe it was, for Season 6. And so we're going to get right into it. But before we get started, I am asking that you all subscribe to this channel. For those of you who haven't subscribed as of yet, hit the notification bell and select all, and it'll let you know every time I upload any new content here. Then I ask that you hit that like button, the thumbs up button, write a comment, join the conversation, and share, because sharing is caring. So this episode starts with Danny talking to Sabrina. Danny's at work and she just received a text message or picture message from Preston saying that he got married. And Sabrina's like, what? What? I can't believe it. It was just a few hours ago he got home. How do you feel about it? She's concerned about Danny. Danny's trying to act like it's not anything. That's what he wanted to do. Clearly, that's what he wanted. Well, you really like him. You like him. I said, wait a minute, Sabrina. Earlier, you were saying, well, forget Preston. You got this great guy that you're talking. And the day before that, you were telling Danny, you don't know, because Danny was saying, I might have met a great guy. And she's like, you don't know he's great. So let's get the script together. Is Tony great or not? Did Danny really like Preston? Should F Preston? All of this text that they keep saying is all over the place. You have to stay on one direction. You can't 1 minute say, screw that person, the next minute saying, but you really like him. You should stay with him. Really. So then Danny decides to read the message that Preston left with the picture. And it said, you've made your decisions and I've made mine. You are blocked from my phone and out of my life. Damn, Preston, really? I said, I couldn't even believe it. That's what happened when you hang around black people a long time, Preston. You get all that attitude and stuff. So anyway, like I said, Danny's trying to act like it's not a big deal, and what am I going to do? He decided to get married. Clearly, that was his decision, what he wanted to do anyway, or something she's trying to say. No, clearly he wanted you, and you didn't know what you wanted. So that was the issue. So Sabrina's still trying to hit with that double date. And Danny's like, no, we don't want to we're not going to double date, Then it was maybe meet for drinks after. No, we're not meeting for drinks after. It's about them, So Sabrina's trying to say, I know how you get when, when you feeling some kind of way. I can hear it in your voice, da-da-da-da-da-da. And Danny's just pushing away because, like somebody wrote in my comment section, Danny already have plans and know what she want to do. And she says she going to go out and have a good time. And having a good time is her sleeping with somebody, I'm sure, that thinks she's going to get over Preston. But if homeboy ain't no good in bed, you're not going to get over Preston. You're still going to be disappointed. So it's not going to work. But it's funny that Danny's getting upset because Sabrina is saying the way she acts and behave. And she's like, I'm not trying to be judgmental. And Danny's like, are you saying this to me right now? Really? You going to say this to me right now? Real friends will tell you right now. We don't have time to sugarcoat and pussyfoot around the bush, to tell you what's right and what's wrong. And what Sabrina said is what you needed to hear. So now we switch over to the law firm, and Andy and Penelope are confronted by Gary. And Gary's like, where are you going? And so Andy's like, we're going to my office. And he's like, no, you're not. I'm not letting y'all both talk without me or something. I said, what the hootie and the blowfish? He must be losing his damn mind. And Penelope kept saying, stop, Gary. I don't want to talk to you. And Gary is like, I love you. She means nothing to me. Don't listen to her. I'm willing to make a fool out of myself here. Please, Penelope, let's go somewhere and talk. She's like, Gary, stop. I do not want to talk to you, Gary. Please stop it. So Fatima sends Andy to her office and she blocks Gary. And Gary's like, get out of my face, Fatima. And Fatima stepped closer. And she said, who the F you talking to? And he said, I'm talking to you. And she was all up in his face. And he said, and that ish that you pulled with Hayden, setting him up with that low-life whore. And she said, low? There's not an a-hole on this planet lower than you. I said, how dare he say something about somebody doing something low after he been messing with about 4 or 5 women at the same time? Gary ain't ish. And the funny part is, he's thinking that probably that Andy brought Penelope there, but he doesn't know that Andy didn't want to even talk to Penelope. Penelope showed up at her job to talk to her, and she initiated this. So Gary need to check himself. So Fatima's telling him to leave, and he said, I'm here to see my attorney. And that's when Hayden showed up, and Hayden said, yes, that's my client. Let him come back here or something. And she said, well, your attorney's office is that way, and stay over that way. Do not go over towards Andy's office. So they go in the conference room, and they start talking smack and all of this stuff, while Andy has Penelope in her office, and Penelope's asking her questions like, do you love him? Did you love him? And blah, blah, blah. Then she pulls out her calendar and shows her these dates. Something was off these days. He said it was a client. He said he was out of this, da, 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 da. So Andy said, no, I wasn't with him this day. Yes, I was with him this day and this day. I don't think this day. He told me he was out of town and stuff. So that's when Penelope said, there's other women. And Andy's like, what? She's like, yeah, there's other women. And then she showed her a picture of another woman with a ring that looks just like theirs. It's the same exact ring. So what we found out later from Gary. Gary says that he buys all the women the same ring. He said that to Hayden. I don't know why men go along with other men who doing foul stuff. If your male friend is foul, you need to tell him he's foul and stop hanging with him, because birds of a feather flock together. That means you ain't ish either, because you close your mouth and you allow it and you condone it by saying nothing. And that goes vice versa with women too. If your girlfriend is cheating on her man and doing all this stuff and whatever else it is, you shouldn't be hanging with her, because that ain't good for your image. You'll be known as that type of person. Like I said, birds of a feather flock together. And your silence is just as guilty as the person who's doing the dirt. So Andy says the only way for us to find out about these other women or what's going on is to go over there and talk to him. And Penelope doesn't want to talk to him at all. And Andy calls Fatima. Fatima comes in and she said, we need to go somewhere. And they go to the conference room, and Penelope's like, do you even know what's going on? And she said, I know enough to back up my sister, or something like that, a sister. So she went with them over to the conference room, and it went down. They confronted Gary. Hayden and Fatima got into a back and forth about her having him beat again or something like that. And then they told Gary about the calendar book that Penelope put together. And they determined that there's more women that he's been messing with. And he's telling Andy, I don't have to say ish to you, because remember, Penelope didn't want to talk to him. So Andy said she would do all the talking. And he said, I don't have to say ish to you. I want to talk to Penelope, because you're the one who matter. She doesn't matter to me. And as he's talking, Fatima saying, don't fall for it, girl. Don't do like he did to Andy. And then he's like, Penelope, look at me. Look at me. And Andy said, oh, the famous look at me line. He does this, and she imitated and mimicked him. I was laughing. It was so good. And then she said, then he would proceed with the extravagant gifts and all of the stuff and everything. And wow, poor Penelope was like, wow. Then Andy says to Penelope, did I tell you the story about how I met his wife? Penelope's like, a wife? He said, I told you I had a situation. A situation is not a wife. So Andy tells Penelope, yeah, she hired me to be his attorney, to her divorce attorney and stuff. And Fatima said, and she is batshit crazy. And Andy said, yeah, I thought she was too, but now I'm seeing it. He drove her to be that way. He did it. It's his fault. She's talking about Gary. And Fatima's like, I'm seeing a pattern here, yeah, because that's how he's doing y'all. And so he's like, are y'all done? She said, are you done abusing black women? I said, oh, go get him, girl. And he's like, Penelope, I messed up. Fatima's like, messed up is not cleaning the kitchen after you cook. This is a whole totally different thing. This ain't no messed up. And Gary's like, Penelope, we have a child to think about. We have a child together to think about. And she don't even want to hear nothing from him. She's done. And before they leave the conference room, Andy lets Gary know that she decided to use him. And she thanked him for all the things she got in the meantime while she was using him, like the Rolls Royce and the designer bags and the trips and everything. And she told him he didn't mean to her either. And as they walked out, Penelope pushed him and said, "Keep away from me," or something like that. Anyway, Gary and Hayden was like talking, and Gary's like he want to get them. He doesn't like it. And Fatima left her cell phone in there, and she had her earbuds in her ear. And Andy was like, "I wonder what they're doing right now." And Fatima said, "They're talking about you." She said, "Really? How do you know?" She said, "I left my cell phone in there, and I had my earbuds in." And she let Andy listen to one while she listened to one, and they were saying some foul stuff. Gary was saying some really foul stuff, but they should have told Penelope what he said, that Penelope is weak and that she'll come around and take him back. And meanwhile, he said he doesn't want Andy because Andy been ran through by so many men. I said, "Damn, really?" I said, "Oh boy." And Penelope's out in the hallway wondering what they said. They said, "You don't want to hear it. You don't want to know what it is." And so after they listened for a while, Fatima went in the conference room and said, "Oh, I left my phone." But that's after they realized that her phone was still there and she was listening to them. So Andy and Fatima sent Penelope home and told her to get some rest and not to worry about whatever is going on, whatever it was. So now we switch over to Karen and Brian, and they're at that space, and he's asking her, did she speak to a realtor? And she said, yes, she called Valerie Hill Collins, and that she gave her the name of somebody named Chelsea, and Chelsea's on her way there. He said, "Oh, I know Valerie and Chelsea. He don't he know everybody? This contractor knows everybody." And she said, "I don't know much about real estate, commercial real estate. I never bought a house or anything." So he said, "Oh, Chelsea will help you, walk you right through it." And at that moment, Chelsea was walking in. So they already was playing the negotiating game when he said 175 a foot, whatever. And Karen was like, "Is that good? Is that bad or whatever?" So Chelsea's like, "Give me a moment to talk with my client." And she's like, "Oh, that man." See, Chelsea's already messy and she's a gossiper. That's what I get from her. "Oh, he's a great father. He's a great body, great personality, never cheated on his wife." How you know he never cheated on his wife? You know? And she's like, "And why did you say that he drove you over? I assumed you have a car." She said, "I do." She said, "But he drove you over?" "Yeah." She said, "That's interesting because he never would have gotten in a car with another woman if it wasn't his wife." And, Karen gets to the point where, can we focus on what we're talking about and not about him, really? And she said, "Oh, I'm sorry. But the fact that he started so low on that price means he really likes you." I said, "How do you know if he never cheated before? How do you know what he really likes and who he really doesn't like?" So she told Karen, "Let's see if we could get the price a little bit lower, for now." And Karen's like, "Oh, okay." So then Chelsea asked her, how did she know Zach? And she said, "Well, Zach is the father of my child." She said, "Oh, how old is your child?" She said, "Oh, well, I'm pregnant. But it didn't happen when he was with Fatima." She said, "Oh, because that's what I was thinking because Valerie has told me a lot about them." And then Karen told her she needs to work on her poker face. So they leave out the building, and Brian asks them, "What are we going to do? Are we going to make a deal?" And I think they are going to get the paperwork and stuff together. Now it switches over to Fatima getting home and Zach asking her how her day is going. He tells her he wants to go and offer Heather all this money, $100,000 to take Michael. And she was like, she is a hood rat and she's going to ask for more, especially if you start that high. She said, "You need to start at 25,000 or something." He's like, "I'm not going to bid on my son." She said, "I'm telling you what kind of person she is. If you start that high, she's going to want more and know she could get more. She's going to ask you for $1,000,000. She is a stripper. She picks up dollars all night long. She's going to want more." And Fatima keeps trying to tell him, and Zach's not listening to her. Zach is acting like he knows what's best. And I'm like, you need to pay attention to what Fatima's saying. He's like, "But I gotta do something." She said, "I think you need to wait it out, and give it some time." And he's like, "I can't." So he had his mind made up. She's like, "Okay, fine." He said he got papers drawn up. All he needs is a notary and something else. I was like, Zachary Taylor. Oh my God. So he said he wants to go now. And she's like, "Okay, fine." She grabs her purse and he said, "Leave your purse." She's like, "No, I will not." He said, "This is a negotiation, not a hostile takeover." And she's like, "Whatever." And so they go to Heather's house. In the meantime, they put in the scene with Sabrina at Maurice's apartment, which it wasn't even a necessary scene. And she's calling again to check on Danny, and she's still trying to get them to have a double date. And she's like, no, no, we're not gonna do that or whatever. And then Maurice comes out after she gets off the phone, and he's talking about his online business that he's going to start, and his dominatrix outfit he has on, and this black leather, and he looks tacky. And he's telling Sabrina she looks tacky and shouldn't be going out to dinner looking the way she looks. She looked fabulous. He looked like a hot whore mess. That's what he looked like, to be honest. But while she was on the phone with Danny, she was looking out the window. I don't remember who wrote it in my comment section, but I did say that looks like Sabrina looking out the window. I wonder what she's looking at. And they told me that they thought it was the neighbor looking out the window. But indeed, it was Sabrina. Whoever wrote that in my comment section, just to let you know. Because I had looked at the pattern on her jacket. The pattern looked like the suit that Sabrina had on. So I was correct in saying it was Sabrina looking out the window. Anywho, so Sabrina finally leaves, Maurice's apartment. And the scene switches over to Tony coming up to Danny at the airport. And she got her pocketbook, her purse or whatever. She's ready to go. She's going to go home and get dressed. And he's like, oh, you're leaving? So let me get ready. I'll walk you out to the car. She's like, no, that won't be necessary. I'm just going to go and relax, get dressed. And they start talking about showering. He said, oh, yeah, I'm going to go home and take a shower. She said, I will hope you would, And then they started talking little fresh things, saying little things about, little sexual innuendos. Meaning she basically told him if things go right with the evening, maybe he'll get some. Let's put it that way. That's what she basically said to Tony. So like we said, she ready to get it on and thinks that's going to help her get over Preston. But she did make a comment to Sabrina, I forgot at which time, telling her, maybe that's what you do, but let me do what I do. I said, well, what you do is sleep around, honey. That's what you do, Danny. So now we have Fatima and Zach showing up at Heather's apartment. And you hear Heather yelling at little Michael, telling him to sit his ass down and shut the F up and do what the F I told you to do. And then you hear the knocking. Who is it? It's Zach. What do you want? He's like, I got money. Oh, really? All of a sudden she wakes up with the money stuff, and he lets her in and all this stuff, and he's trying to give her the 25,000. She's like, I'm not taking that. He tried to give her 50,000. I'm not taking that. How about I get you 100,000? She's like, no, I'm not taking that either. Why do you want the baby? Why you want that? She was like, you didn't even know he was your child. He said, but I do now and stuff. So she said, told him she would want $1 million. And he looked at Fatima. She said, well, why the F you looking at her? Because see, Fatima already told him that's what she gonna ask for. But Jack ain't listened to her. But she was like, you gonna pay me for my son? He said, our son. And that's when she said, you didn't even know he was yours. And she said, when he offered the 100,000, she said, you got 100,000 in cash you could give me? And he said, I'll get it. And she was like, no, I'm not going to take that either. That's when she said she wanted $1 million. And she said, if you come here trying with that amount, I know you could get more. And she said, I'm going to take you to court. And he said, good, I'll meet you at court and we could talk there, something like that. So then Zach asked to see Michael, and she was like, no, leave. He said, come on, Heather, I came here being nice and stuff. And Fatima just walked around her and went into the bathroom. She said, where you going? And she said, see, y'all need to leave. And Fatima's like, Zach, you need to come here, Zach. And Zach come in the bathroom, and what the world do we see? Little Michael tied up in a tub. Zach is like, have you lost your mind? She said, he be leaving the room. He's like, oh my God, what is wrong with you? So he tries to untie Michael, and she grabs at him, and Fatima yanks her behind and throws her out the bathroom, and she hits the floor, and Fatima stands over her with the gun. Looked like she's about to pull it out, but I don't think she did. And Zach is like, Fatima, no. But Fatima didn't do nothing. She said, get the baby. And she got the baby, and they left out. I said, now this ain't going to be good. The first thing they should have did is taken a picture of him tied to the damn tub, tied up in the tub. Get pictures. They got cell phones and they're not thinking. When they saw those marks on Michael's back, they should have taken pictures or taken him to the hospital. God, please let them take the boy to the hospital right now. Do not take him home. Pass home and go straight, like Monopoly, go straight to the hospital. Zach and Fatima, oh my God, please use your brain. Use your brains. Meanwhile, Heather's yelling, "You're kidnapping my baby. You're kidnapping my baby." And she says, "Sit your asses down and don't you move." Fatima's yelling at her, standing over her. And then they get out the building and the neighbor's yelling, "Oh, good, you got him. It's about time somebody grabbed that baby." Oh, God. And they put him in the car. I said, how do they think this is going to end? Do they think this is going to end well? Unless they go straight to the hospital, this still not going to work out in their favor. And then this episode ends with Danny going to her car in the airport parking lot and noticing all this broken glass around there. Somebody done broke her windows in her car. So she's looking in and stepping on the glass, and somebody comes up behind her, grabs her, covers her mouth, grabs her down, and they fall back to the ground. So whoever did it was stupid because she fell down on top of they dumbass and they falling on a bunch of pile of glass. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. But I think they had a bandana or something around their face. So that's how this episode went. Y'all let me know down in the comment section what y'all thought about it. And then we could discuss it also tomorrow when I do my YouTube live on Hey Barbie J. I am so curious as to what everybody's going to be saying and what everybody's thought is about this episode, the season finale. So this your girl Barbie J saying, please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And I will see you all in the next video. Happy Kwanzaa, season's greetings, and happy holidays. Peace.